I met a guy, 3 or 4 years ago. He was kind of in a similar space. He's a public speaker, and he used to work with the New York Yankees. And so sports performance was a big part of his deal with the Yankees. And so I was helping with all of our sons' baseball teams at the time. I said, "Hey, do you have any advice, like to help young kids, when they're nervous, when they're stressed out, when they're up at the plate, and they're kind of panicking, like, oh gosh, I don't want to strike out, or if they're pitching and like, oh, I don't want to mess this up. Any advice?" And he said, "Well, here's something we always did with our players." And he said, "If you'll notice, if you start to watch baseball, you'll see players all across the major leagues now do this." He said, anytime a player was standing in the batter's box and there was a pitch that they didn't like or a call they didn't like, right? They're standing in and they're like, that was definitely a ball, and the ump called it a strike. And you'll notice players will turn, oh, come on, that's a terrible call. And they're throwing a fit. He's like, if they do that, they're taking their mind off of what needs to be happening, right? Their mind is on the last pitch, not the next pitch. And so when that next pitch is coming, they're still thinking about how that ump made the wrong call on the previous pitch, which means they're not as present and as focused and prepared as they need to be in this moment because they're living in the past, living in what I heard a speaker one day called dead yesterdays, right? Yesterdays are dead. Let's not keep reliving them because they're preventing us from living in the present. He said, so we worked up a routine to help players like not engage in that moment. I said, what they do is once they it's a bad pitch or a call that they disagree with, instead of arguing, so the movement now, the habit now, the practice is to take a step back, take a breath. Like science has proven that like deep breaths start to calm you, right? Your nerves subside a little bit. So let's take a deep breath, reach down, pick up a handful of dirt, look at the right field foul pole, take another breath, squeeze that dirt in your hand, and then let it go. Again, science has also shown like squeezing and releasing, like releases pressure, releases nerves. Why like the stress balls, right? Those are a real thing. So it's look at the right field foul pole, take another breath, squeeze and release the dirt in your hand, and then step back into the batter's box, ready to engage with the next pitch. Right? That's the way of like resetting, letting the last play go to focus on the next play. Because you hear coaches all the time, like, forget the last play, focus on the next play. Well, you can't focus on the next play if you're still thinking about the last play. And so while that's a good trick for baseball players, like we all need to have a mindset reset, because we're all going to be in moments where we got discouraging news. We got news that we didn't want to hear that makes us angry, makes us sad, takes us off the track that we thought we were supposed to be on. Maybe you got fired. Maybe there's a budget cut. Maybe your proposal got rejected. Whatever it may be. Maybe your project didn't get funded. Maybe you had a bad quarter. Maybe you lost the sale. All sorts of things, right? We're all going to be in these moments where we get news, where we face situations that are difficult. And for most of us, what tends to happen is we just go down a rabbit hole of negativity, right? Just like baseball players, when the ump makes a bad call, oh, it's a terrible call. Well, they just start thinking and focusing on that, and it spirals out to where they're now not present for the next pitch. And so for us, we can, well, why did that happen? They don't like me. They're trying to take advantage of, and we just go down this rabbit hole. And that one hard, difficult, negative moment compounds into a series of negative thoughts and negative actions and negative outcomes, because we know we've talked hundreds of times on Monday Mindset about how our mindset determines our actions determine our outcomes. But what I know is that in that moment of adversity, in that moment of frustration, in that moment of disappointment, in that moment of anger, of sadness, of whatever it may be, we have a choice in how we respond. And instead of just firing off a response, right? We've talked before about know yourself to lead yourself. That tendency to fire off a response, or to be negative, or to fight back, or to, yeah, but what about, that tendency is always going to be there. But we have a choice in how we respond. But it takes a mindset reset in that moment to step back, take a breath, think about the bigger picture. Say, okay, I know this is happening, but this is just a moment. I don't need to make a decision in this moment based on how I feel in this moment, when I'm going to feel different in 5 minutes or an hour or tomorrow. I don't need to let those emotions drive my decision or actions or words right now in a way that I'm going to regret in a week. And so to put something in place, right, to trick your mind, to reset your mind, to say, hey, you can make a better decision here. The next decision you make can be a good one. It doesn't have to be a negative one. It doesn't have to be an anxious one. It doesn't have to be driven by those feelings. It doesn't have to be driven by your circumstances or your emotion. You can hit reset, take a breath, and then get back in the game. Say, okay, I hear you. I see what's happening. It's okay. It's okay. Here's what I'm going to do. Here's the response that I'm going to choose. I saw a great video recently. It's not new. It's by, I don't know if he was a Navy SEAL or in some military branch, a speaker named Jocko Willink. You guys may have listened to his podcast, read his books. Always appreciate his perspective on things. And he's got a great video that he just calls good. He's like, our mission got canceled? Good. Project didn't get funded? Good. Got injured? Good. Lost the battle? Good. Whatever it is, he said his people that he would lead, his direct reports would always come to him, hey, we got a problem. Good. He said one day the guy that he was leading came up and said, hey, we've got this issue, but I already know what your response is going to be. He's like, okay, what's it going to be? He goes, you're just going to say good. He goes, that's right. Good. He said, because if you can say good, that means you still have the breath in your lungs to recalibrate, to reset, to reload, to get back in the game in an intentional way. You can get back in the fight. You don't have to be taken out by that circumstance. And so if you can reframe your mind, reset your mind, and say, okay, this thing is happening. Good. Because I have a choice in how I'm going to respond to it. I can compound this problem, or I can move closer to a solution. But that doesn't happen without a mindset reset. So I think for us, it's figuring out, like, what is that practice? And it may be a phrase you need to say to yourself, right? When you get bad news, say, hey, you've got this. You can handle this. This is not going to take you out. You're stronger than this. It may be, you know what? I need to put it into practice, some breathing exercises. Anytime I get bad news or feel stressed out or feel anxious, I need to take a step back and breathe for 30 seconds, for a minute, and then re-engage in the conversation, then re-engage in the discussion, re-engage in the decision. But we all need a practice, because it's not going to happen on accident, right? We talk again all the time about accidental versus intentional. Like, think back about how you typically respond in these stressful, anxious, frustrating, disappointing situations, and the outcomes that response leads to. And to not blame others, but to take ownership, say, you know what, I can choose a better response. I can have a mindset reset and be more intentional in that moment. Right? I get to choose my response. I get to choose to be positive. I get to choose to be confident. I get to choose to be secure. I get to choose to be at peace. I don't have to let my emotions win. But you got to put a practice in place. So I've been working with teams on this concept lately. All right, working with the tennis team last week. Hey, you're losing the match. You're not playing to your potential. Okay, you can get negative, right? We always say, talk to yourself instead of listen to yourself, because those thoughts come in. Oh, you're not gonna win. They're gonna destroy you. You're not good enough. They're better than you. Well, start talking better to yourself. Maybe even out loud. Hey, you've got this. Hey, get back in the game. Hey, you've prepared for this. Hey, this is right where you want to be. It may be tapping a racket on the wall or the net a couple of times, right? Whatever that practice is, to like shift them out of that negative mindset into being intentional and positive and ready and focused. And so what is that going to be for us, right? What is your mindset reset practice? And then use it, right? Because those difficult situations, like this is life. We signed up for the difficulty. It's going to be that way. We're going to face hard situations. And I heard a great I don't know if it was a phrase or conversation recently, like, life is going to get hard and things may fall apart. Don't let them fall apart because of your choices, right? Don't let them fall apart because of your mindset, right? Things happen. Life goes the wrong way. Don't let it go the wrong way because of the way that you showed up, which means we've got to have a mindset reset to get back in the game and to make the next decision a good decision. Tracy, any thoughts?
Yeah, that's great. So I actually woke up in the middle of the night last night with a panic because I had forgotten to do something for a client that I had said I was going to do.
Mm-hmm.
And I was panicked, and I made myself go back to bed. I thought, I'm not going to be able to do anything about it now. I'm going to go back to sleep and get a full night's rest. And then I woke up this morning going, well, maybe I was wrong. Maybe I did do it and I forgot or something. I was trying to make excuses for myself. And then I went in and I found out, oh, nope, I actually forgot. It was kind of a big deal. And so I kind of did what you're saying. I just thought, what's the worst that can happen here?
Yep.
I'm going to apologize for my part. I'm going to take ownership of it, and I'm not going to let it affect my day. And it turned out he was so gracious, so gracious. No big deal. We'll make this happen or work or whatever. And so had I, beat myself up like you're talking about and and let it just destroy my morning. It didn't. And then in the end, he was so gracious about it. So
Yeah.
that happened actually just a few hours ago. So you are
Yeah.
right. And that reset is so important. What would you say to the naysayers out there, the glass half empty crowd who's like, yeah, yeah, good. That sounds great to say, good. Yeah, right. That's not reality. What would you say to the
Mhm.
naysayers?
Yeah, I would say how's your current whatever your current practice is, right? Like your current habits, the way that you currently respond to difficult situations, hard moments, frustration, disappointment, how's that working out for you? Like, and I don't mean that to be hateful. Like we can always poke holes in things, right? There is no perfect strategy. So I'm not saying this is the perfect strategy, but how's your strategy working? If it's just leading to more frustration and disappointment and outcomes that you don't want, okay, well, what do you have to lose by trying something different?
Mhm,
So I would say try it, right? Try this process. Because I think a
mhm,
lot of this, a lot of the stuff we talk about on Monday Mindset, it's about figuring out what process works best for you. What helps you get into the right mindset? Your process may be different than my process, maybe different than this person's process, but we've got to have a process. And too many times cynics always can always find the problem in the solution. Like, hey, we're facing this thing. Well, maybe we should do it. Well, yeah, but what about this? What about this? And I'm not talking about like asking hard questions. They just always finding out why things won't work instead of just trying it.
mhm,
Saying, hey, this might not work. Like there are lots of reasons it might not work. What if it does? What if it does work? And what if instead of poking all the holes in it, you just started? You just gave something a chance. So I think it's being honest with your current reality. It's like, yeah, that diet's not going to work. Okay, well, you're unhealthy. So you can
mhm,
keep being unhealthy, or you can see if this diet works. Well, that financial plan is not going to work. Maybe it won't, but you're currently in a really frustrating spot with your finances. So maybe you try this way, right? Nothing changes if you don't change, right? Nothing changes if nothing changes. And so like we have to be willing to try new things, which is uncomfortable, which is awkward, and especially like this stuff, a mindset reset, right? So to get bad news, say, hey, can I have a minute? Like I hear you, like I just need to think for a second. And it could be sitting in the room, maybe you need to leave the room, but to be sitting in a meeting, all right. Okay. Like, what are you doing? I'm just trying to get clarity. What do you mean?
mhm,
Oh, like I have a lot of emotions from what you just said, and I don't want to respond out of that because I know that's not going to lead us anywhere good. That's not healthy. Those emotions may not be real. So I'm just trying to get clarity before I respond, so we can make sure we make a good decision, not an emotional decision. That's a weird thing to say. I totally get it, but wouldn't you want a leader to do that? Wouldn't you want somebody to make a decision out of peace and not out of emotion? And then what you're doing, we talk all the time about multiplication. You're showing them, hey, this is what you should be doing, or some version of this. Right? I don't want you making emotional decisions either. I don't want you taking action based on your frustration or your disappointment or your anger or whatever. Like we all need to like make sure we're being intentional with our mindset so we can be intentional with our choices. I think that's a great example to be setting. So I'd say if you're a cynic, that's okay, right? Try it. If you want to get better, you got to change something.
so true. And, I'm 51 years old. I'm pretty set in my ways, but yeah, I'm
Mm-hmm.
not I'm not I'm not. I can choose to make my life going forward different in different areas, and so if you're 30,
Yep.
if you're 40, if you're 50 and you're the glass half
Yeah.
empty kinda guy or,
Mm-hmm.
woman, it's not too late to give it
Yeah.
a try. So give it a
It's
try.
it, it-
Yeah.
it's not, and it's you talk to yourself more than you talk to anybody else.
Yeah.
So you might as well like be really intentional with the way that you talk to yourself, because that's going to shape things.
That's right.
What do we got, Anthony? Powerful yet challenging, especially when it goes against the belief we've created. Whew, that's it. Right? It's everything is a threat to your belief system. And if it's uncomfortable, it's because it's threatening that belief system. That's okay, right? But we get to choose how we respond to that. It's like, okay, well, I thought this was the best way. Maybe. Well, does this thing actually work? Don't know, but try it. And
Mhm.
it's the people that I've seen put stuff like this into place. Like those are the people who are at peace, right? The people who are at peace, who are calm, who handle adversity the right way. That doesn't happen on accident, right? They're not superheroes. They're just intentional. They're not letting the emotions or the situation get to them. So last night, if there's any NFL fans, if you were watching any of the NFL games this weekend, they were all insane. Every single game came down to the very last play. And the Chiefs had 13 seconds to tie the game to go to overtime. It's like, this is not going to happen. And they asked the Chiefs coach, Andy Reid, hey, what'd you say to Patrick Mahomes? Like, you have 13 seconds. Like, things are looking grim. Like, and he said, I looked over and I said, hey, when things look grim, be the Grim Reaper.
Mhm.
And it's like, so he came out and they got as many yards as they needed to and kicked the game tying field goal to go to overtime and then won in overtime. But there's a reason when you watch elite athletes perform under pressure, perform in the midst of adversity, and their emotions aren't getting the best of them. There's a reason for that. They've trained their mind to operate in that situation. We're no different, right? We face adversity is adversity, right? We have to train ourselves to how we respond in the midst of it.
Perfect. Yep. Very good. As always, thank you, Kevin. Thank you to all of you who joined us today. Hope you can have a little mind reset. Thanks, Kevin. We'll see you all next time.